Hi, in this lesson, we're learning about browser cookies for online trainers. So that way you could be a lot smarter when you're setting up your online courses, your communities, and your coaching website. Hi, I'm Angel from RT Course Experts, and we help creative online course teachers with their tech. In this lesson, we're learning all about web browser cookies. We're going to learn what are they, why use them, how to use them. We're going to go over an example, then we're going to summarize all our top tips. First of all, what are browser cookies? So these are small data files that are on the browser that let the website remember information about the visitor. So as a user, let's just say you're a student, they use a web browser, they visit your online community. When they visit your online community, they're using a web browser. And when they talk to that web server, the browser gets this little data file that says your name or your information, so that as you move around from page to page, it knows who you are, what your settings are, what access do you have, which rooms. You may have seen that when you go to certain websites, you might see a pop-up prompt that says, are you willing to accept using web cookies for a better experience? Or we'd like to inform you that we use cookies on this website, and you either accept, or if you don't accept, you might have a really lame, old-fashioned, very simple website that's not interactive, that's not smart. As a business owner, if you're an online trainer, you're a CEO, you have a business for training, why would you want to use browser cookies? Well, websites can show personalized web pages when the users navigate around to the different pages, or when they come back maybe a few days later or a few weeks later. When students visit a website, it downloads a cookie, and then as users click around on the different pages, it already knows about that user. Have they bought your community? Have they bought your course already? Or are they just browsing? They're just a prospect. And then later on, when they are a student or a community member, as they're hopping around the different parts of your interface, the web server is going to be able to present it with the right information. It's going to say hello name. It's going to have the rooms that they're part of. It's going to have notifications and pop-ups. It might even be customized with colors and other things so that it's personalized for that user. And the way it's personalized is because over time, the web server knows who you are, and it has this cookie. So as your students navigate around, it knows how to present them with the information from the web page. So let's go into a how-to guide. So first we'll do kind of a technical overview. What are cookies underneath the hood? What do they really do? And then let's talk about how training businesses can use cookies. First of all, let's go into the technical details. So again, when a visitor visits a website, it potentially stores a little data file on your browser. So your browser has these cookies, these data files, and it may have one file for every single website that it visits. It might have more than one file as well. You can have several cookies. But if you have a cookie, then the web browser will download a cookie from the web server with certain information, and it will store it. Next up, this cookie is actually just a simple text file. It's a little bit of a data file, and it has information. It might have your username. It might have your preferences, like your color scheme, or your font size, or your country, or even a generic ID, or even some really random ID that is not recognizable. So if anybody looks at this computer, let's just say it's a computer at a library or at a school, well, in that case, you don't want your username, your email sitting there on the browser as you leave. So some cookies just have a generic ID. So as you log in, they know that this ID is you. And if you were to log in on your mobile phone or at home, they would know that it's still that same ID. And then they would look up all the information about you. Now, as the visitor changes the web page, so you go to the home page, you log in, you go to a different page, you're maybe on a course page or a different lesson or a different module. As you're changing from page to page, whether you realize it or not, the web pages are reloaded, and every time that web page is redrawn or reloaded, it downloads an updated cookie from the server. So you log in, you first time visitor, you're anonymous, you get a cookie. Over time, that cookie has information about you, and as you move from page to page, that cookie comes along with you, and it lets the web server know exactly how to draw that page, your settings, and even if you come back a few days later or a few weeks later, your browser will remember that cookie, and it may auto log you in, or once you do log in, which may not be part of the cookie, then at that point, you can then access all your preferences. Your web server creates the cookie, sends it down to the browser, and then as the browser requests additional pages, whenever, it could be right away, it could be in the future, it then sends, hey, I have this cookie for this particular user on this particular website. Now, there are laws like the GDPR in the European Union or new laws in different countries that require visitors to agree to cookies. And these laws have implications for businesses too. So users need to be notified that there are cookies being used and that they need to agree to those cookies. And as a business, you may be asked to remove all the information from a user. So there's these new rules that are being established on how to do that. And all of this is related to privacy, whether it's for children, adults, advertisers misusing, spam. So the GDPR and these new laws are really trying to help with privacy and personal information and giving users some power back so that their information is not misused. So how should training businesses use cookies? Let's go over a couple examples. So first of all, for courses, when you're logging into a course, your course system could remember video settings. Like for example, this user really likes closed captions or they like their subtitles in French. So that might be a first example. Also, courses could remember progress. So for example, as a student goes from module 1 to module 2, lesson 1, module 2, lesson 2, the course system is going to remember the progress. So later on, when a student logs back in, a cookie can remember, oh, you're this particular student, and I know that I'm going to display the screen with some check marks on these prior modules, and then these other modules are not checked because they haven't been viewed yet. So all of this is how a course website could use session information about users, and that's all linked to a cookie. Now, if you're running a community, members can quickly log in. So once they've logged in and they go and maybe they've chosen a main chat room, the next time they log in, the next time they open up that browser and that membership site is up and running and all the rooms are displayed, that member can see their main room, see their settings, see notifications about their new messages, and it's just a seamless experience. This is because of cookies. Imagine if every time you logged into a community, you would start at the highest level. It doesn't remember which are your favorite rooms, which are the rooms that you're active in, maybe the way you've sorted, or you filtered out, or you've muted certain rooms, or you favorited certain rooms, or you're tracking threads. So it won't know anything about you, so the experience would be really poor. So cookies really help these browsers get your members back in and engage and continue seamlessly from where they left off. If you have a teaching or coaching website, there's a lot of things where cookies can really help out. Cookies could help out on the layout of the screen. So for example, what language do you want to use? What's your language preference for viewing this website? Maybe ads will also use cookies so that they might get your preference. And maybe this is outside of your website, but they've chosen what kind of Bing or Google ads they want to see or not see. And if you happen to have ads, those cookies from those advertisers will give them intelligence on how to display to your customers. You might have a shopping cart on your website. So as customers are navigating on your website, looking at your downloadable ebook or some templates that you sell, as they go from page to page and browse all your products, the fact that you have a shopping cart and the cart functionality remembers what you have in it as you're going from page to page or resource to resource, and then ultimately helping you check out. All of that is because you have cookies enabled. And another thing is maybe you don't buy today, but you get a newsletter next week. You go back to the website and it'll remember that you had added these items to the shopping cart. So that's all because of that cookie. And so that's a pretty cool feature, but some people may not like it, and so they may disable cookies on your website. Let's check out an example of how browser cookies work underneath. In this example, let's go over a student who's at home on a computer, and then they're accessing a course system. So at home, they're on a Mac, they're on the Safari browser, and they're about to visit this website. And the website is a Kajabi web server that has a lot of things, but it has courses. And behind the scenes, it has a cookie database. And we're going to get into that in a minute. So the student goes by first visiting the page. So they saw a link to a course, or they got it in their email. So they click that link, and then they go and they visit the web page for the very first time. The web server says, welcome. It's an anonymous user. They've never logged in. And it sends back some generic information with, hey, for now on, as you're hopping around this website, save this little cookie. And we're going to say that your student is session 123. So as that student is clicking around the different sales pages, about pages, how this works, the features of the course, as they're clicking around, they're going to be sending the web server, hey, don't forget, I'm session 123. Here's my latest cookie. And then whenever it's necessary, the web server will update that cookie. Now, eventually, the student goes and buys the course. So they buy the course, and when they do, the cookie then gets expanded with a little bit more information, not necessarily on the browser, but behind the scenes. So the web server knows, hey, session 123, their name is Laura, and their email is la@somewhere.com. And they just bought this course on music. A few days later, the student goes and logs in, and the browser remembers the cookies from before. And so the student logs in right away. It says, hey, Laura, welcome. And the student's browsing around and taking the course. Now, as the student is taking the course, the cookie database on the server is getting expanded. The student prefers this language, French. So the student has set their video settings to French. And from now on, every time they access this course or any course on this web server, we're going to know that they prefer French. And as the student is going through the different lessons, the course server is going to know their progress. They just finished lesson 1. They just finished lesson 2. So they're going to know this because on that browser, every time they're navigating a lesson page, the browser is sending over a cookie that says, hey, by the way, for this particular server, remember, I am session 123. So then at that point, you could look up session 123, and it has all the preferences and settings and stats for that user. And that's it. So that's how it works. So on the browser, you navigate a page, your student, as soon as they navigate the page, get a little cookie. They keep navigating other pages, and the server will always know, because of that cookie ID, information of how to draw that screen or what preferences that user needs. So if you want to level up, use cookies for personalized experiences over multiple sessions. So go ahead and enable the cookies, stay out of trouble, make sure your websites notify in your privacy policy that you are using cookies. Maybe you have a pop-up that lets your students and members and customers know that you are using cookies. And then make sure that if you disable cookies, it might not be the best experience, but it generally works. So let's summarize. Here are the top things you need to know about cookies. They're a little data file. They're stored on the browser. When you visit a website, that website sends back a little cookie. It sends the last cookie it has, and at any point, that web server could send back an updated cookie. There are some laws around cookies, so make sure you notify your users that you're using cookies. And you can use cookies for all parts of your training businesses, courses, communities, websites, webinars, etc. So now you're a lot smarter on web browser cookies. To learn more, check out the info and links in the notes. If you're loving this stuff, subscribe to keep leveling up your creative business. And if you need any tech help with your courses, community, or teacher website, visit www.rtcourseexperts.com. Thanks for hanging out. Let's stay in touch.